Hi, can I share my testimony with you? I think it's really important to do because of how amazing God was, and He needs the recognition. There's so many people in our world right now that just do not know how real He is. It's a hard subject, so please bear with, okay? I think in light of what the nature of the subject is, I think I need to take a step back further than what I normally would want to. Okay. In 1992, I was driven miles away from home. I was pregnant and I had to go and have a termination. I was kind of hoping that God would wave a magic wand, that I wouldn't have to go through with what I was to go through. I'd prayed to Him beforehand. I asked Him not to let me do the wrong thing. I went in there and it's like a cattle market. Actually, it was like you go in, you're shown where your bed is going to be, you're given a gown to put on, you're also shown the room where your operation will be. I sat and I waited on the short stay bed, and another lady come in and we talked, and we both agreed that neither one of us wanted to be there. It was something we didn't want to do, but it was something that for one reason or another we were kind of having to go through what we went through. I remember the room to the operating theatre was just across from where this bed was, and I didn't want to be there. I don't remember too much about that room. I remember coming around in the morning. Felt like morning. Can't remember what time of day it was, to be honest with you, but it was like I was waking up. I was slapped in the face by one of the nurses who was pushing me in a wheelchair. And I remember asking where my baby was, and she said down the drain pipe, which was a real slap in the face. It was a real slap in the face, and I had kind of hoped that I would bring my baby home with me. As morbid as that sounds, it was something that, for me, I had in my head that if I wasn't able to have my baby alive, then I was going to bring him home in some kind of a box or something, I don't know. It was my baby. When I came out, we had something to eat. We had to get changed. No, actually we got changed and then went and had something to eat. And then went into another room to wait for somebody to come and pick us up to go home. I remember going into the toilet and feeling relieved that I didn't die. I didn't think I was going to come out that place alive. All that had been going through my head beforehand was thou shalt not kill, and I cannot even begin to tell you a mishmash of emotions. It was hard. It was very hard. It was incredibly difficult, and I couldn't cope. I couldn't cope with it. I locked it away in a box someplace, me away, threw away the key in the back of my head, and created this new me, this face, you know, that just got on with life. And I couldn't deal with relationships. I just couldn't. It was awful. It affected me hugely, and the only way I could get through was being somebody new. Just being somebody new. To me, nobody could hurt me there. If I was back there somewhere, no one could hurt me there. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. It was a horrible time, and I couldn't deal with it. So I shut it all away and I carried on. Then 16 years later, I had a trigger which threw everything back up in my face. All the emotions, all the grief, and everything that I didn't deal with beforehand, it was thrown back up at me. And I had to deal with it. My life had moved on. I was a different person in a different situation, and all of a sudden I was like two me's. Me back then and me at that time. I didn't know who I was supposed to be. My head was so mixed up. It was like I felt like I was in the wrong place with the wrong family, with it was all very scary. It was very, very scary. And I struggled hugely, but unfortunately my family were affected hugely too. And there were other people obviously in the picture that it was a struggle for them as well. And it was a hard time for all. But I kind of like, I don't know, I think it was like I was in my own bubble of torture, if that makes sense. I had symptoms like PTSD. You know, it's actually post-abortion stress syndrome, PASS. But the symptoms are very much the same as PTSD. I felt suicidal. I was hysterical. I had nightmares. I had flashbacks. It was like fluey. It was like 1 minute I'd seem to be okay-ish and trying to get along with life, and then the next minute I could be bawling my eyes out, and sometimes I just didn't even know why. It was just there and it was affecting me, and it was really, really difficult. It was a really hard time. And I'm not saying that I didn't put other people through pain. I did. But I was not in control of myself. from an aspect where God is concerned, it was like he was cleaning me from the inside, but I didn't know this. You know when a child gets a wound and there's grit inside, and the adult knows that the grit has to come out in order to allow the wound to heal. It was kind of like that. It was like I had to go to counselling, and we had to touch down deep in the subject and, you know, go through things that was really, really hard to be able to go through. I came out of counselling one day in a really bad way. I wasn't able to cope with the session. I was crying, like hysterically crying, and I needed to leave early. My counsellor, she was a lovely lady. She was really kind. We had a 12-step program, and sometimes I couldn't get through it. Sometimes I had homework exercises to do. Sometimes there were explanation exercises within the class, the appointment. On this one particular occasion, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, and I came out early, and I went straight down to St Michael's Church in town, which is a huge, lovely, old stone church. I got in there, and there were people already there, a couple of people at the back of the church, and I felt like I had to try and stop my tears and stuff, but it was really very hard, and I just stood there for a couple of minutes until they'd gone. And then this bit is kind of weird, but it's true, okay, totally true. It was like somebody was there talking to me, but I didn't hear them in the same kind of way that you would normally hear someone. I heard them in my mind, which sounds nuts, but I wasn't on drugs, wasn't stoned, I wasn't, you know, wasn't psychotic or anything. And they said to me, "You've never knelt before the Lord before, have you?" And in that second, you know, I suppose I don't think I had. And it was like I was guided up the front of the church, even though there was nobody physically there. It was somebody was there, and they were guiding me up the front of the church. I got down on my knees, and I let my crying just come out. And I just kept saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry." I can't even explain. Like, it was like I was in some kind of a dark pit or something. It was just, I can't even explain it. The crying was just so not like a normal cry, you know? I want to say like a healthy cry. It was not a healthy cry. It was like an unhealthy kind of. And I heard a voice right here. Couldn't have got any closer to my right ear. "Get up, my child. Your sins are forgiven." And it was a male voice. I remember standing up. I was a little bit shaky, and I was looking around. There was nobody there. I was in the church all on my own. And it was really weird because there was like, I had the sense that there were other people just across the way that were kind of like watching me, and I felt this feeling of being watched, but I couldn't see anyone. There wasn't anybody there, not physically speaking. And I became kind of like really fearful, really scared, and I just knew that I had to leave. What I hadn't realised right then, right there, when I was told, "Get up, my child, your sins are forgiven," when he said that to me, he healed me of all of my PTSD type symptoms. He took the whole lot away. There was, sure enough, for a little while, there were, you know, some bits and pieces that with certain situations and certain, you know, I want to say like a sting. There might be a sting that we had to walk through. He would hold my hand and we would go through like a bit of a process, and he would kind of like help me out with something, teach me how to deal with something. And I knew that he was walking me through it, because he would show me ahead of time that we had something to deal with. But the main bulk of symptoms, the nightmares, the anxiety, the flashbacks, the stress, the psychological stuff, the depression, the suicidal thoughts, the hysteria, it all went. He healed me of the whole lot. God's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. My counsellor contacted me and she said about making another appointment, and I said to her, I don't need to. I'm fine. I'm okay. And she said, I think we should have another appointment just so I can check to see, you know, which I did. I said, okay then. So we made an appointment and I went down there and I chatted with her, and, you know, we had a good old chinwag, and she discharged me. And she said to me, you know, feel free to come back if you feel you need to. But I didn't. Some years later, we met up in a Costa, and I asked her, I said to her, so did you see a difference in me? And she said to me, you went from having a look of despair on your face to having one of joy. Now, she's a trained counsellor and she noticed the difference. I hope this helps someone. God forgives. He forgives. If you're going through a hard time because you've done the same thing in the past, Jesus forgives. Please just take it to him. Please turn away from your bad stuff and go seek him. And he will forgive you because he loves you and he's amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you are considering having an abortion, please don't be pressured into doing anything that you don't want to do. It's not right. Admittedly, it's your choice. It's up to you what you want to do, and I'm not going to try and persuade you one way or the other. But I know for me, it was the wrong thing to do. And I will never have another abortion again, ever. Thank you.